Kate Igor, you're now live. Feel free to kick it off.
Yep, let's go.
Hello, everyone. Let me introduce our speaker, Eugene. Eugene Aseev is a CTO and co-founder of Chainstack. He has a strong roots in engineering, cybersecurity, and research, with more than 10 years of experience in leading top R&D teams on a global scale. Eugene is passionate about the driving innovation and building highly sophisticated products and technologies in multi-stakeholder environments, and he will present to us Hyperledger Fabric on a Chainstack in his presentation, Next Generation Hyperledger Fabric Managed Services. It's a pleasure to have you here. Eugene, please begin your presentation.
Likewise. Thanks, Igor, for a very kind intro. Hi, everyone. I assume that you joined us from different parts of the world, which is great. I'm currently based in Singapore, where Chainstack is headquartered. Our team is pretty global, and our customers are also quite global, but we are in this red dot. Live streaming from Southeast Asia right now. Let me share my screen and launch the deck. Yeah, so as Igor mentioned, I'm a founder and CTO of a company called Chainstack. We are building managed services for blockchain for the last 3 years. We focus on the protocols that are either being adopted already by the development community, or we are focusing on some new protocols that are on the forefront of innovation in the blockchain space, and that we think are going to be the next big thing in the blockchain space. So one of the protocols that we've been supporting very early on is Hyperledger Fabric. So we're big fans of Hyperledger Foundation, of Hyperledger communities, and Hyperledger Fabric has been clearly one of the biggest protocols that we see people building in the enterprise blockchain space. So we've built our first version of managed services on top of Hyperledger Fabric version 2, which introduced a lot of improvements versus version 1. And I think we were the first managed service provider who supported version 2 at that time, which was a bit more than a year ago. So today, apart from just talking a little bit about what our managed blockchain services are, how they work, what are the benefits of using blockchain managed services versus, let's say, building your own team for operations and developing the blockchain infrastructure solutions. I will also share a short demo of the platform because I love live demos. Our platform is quite robust at this stage already, so that I'm very comfortable showing live demos, and I'm doing this all the time on all the events, on all the webinars. I will also talk a little bit about the enterprise aspects of our solution, like why like big players in the market in the blockchain space are using Chainstack. What kind of enterprise features we provide on top of the easy to use UIs and APIs to manage and operate and orchestrate your blockchain networks. And we'll be obviously happy to answer any of your questions and dig into more details into how to build the next generation managed blockchain services solution. So a couple of words about Chainstack. As I mentioned, we're headquartered in Singapore. We've been mentioned a couple of times in Gartner reports about enterprise blockchain as one of the leading managed blockchain services. We have a bunch of patents around orchestration of blockchain, of complex blockchain networks, managing distributed ledgers as part of the solution that we build. And we also have pretty diverse team, which, as I mentioned, is distributed. Currently, in a few countries around the globe. Among our customers, we have names like Deloitte, PwC, Fujitsu, Acronis that have been using Chainstack for not only proof of concepts, but also for pre-production and production environments in multiple clouds, using multiple protocols, and running everything pretty smoothly with the automation that we provide, and also with professional services that we provide on top of the platform that allows more sophisticated customers to customize the platform for their needs. For instance, to host it in multi-cloud or even on-premises environment that I will cover a little bit later. So what Chainstack provides in a nutshell is a way to start your blockchain projects very quickly. So you can deploy a new blockchain network in 10 minutes, including the time to register on console.chainstack.com. You can use multiple protocols that we support. Today we support around, I think, 8 protocols already, both public blockchains like Ethereum and Polygon and Bitcoin and others, as well as enterprise blockchain protocols, the leading one being Hyperledger Fabric, but also we support Corda and Quorum as part of our solution, so that basically you can really quickly experiment with all these protocols, try to build on top of them, and then see like what works, what doesn't work. Again, some of our companies that I mentioned that we have as customers, they use multiple protocols for different kind of projects in different verticals. So this platform is pretty handy for them to operate multiple networks or nodes from the same environment in different hosting providers as well. So we support today in production 3 cloud providers, Amazon, Azure, and Google Cloud. We support custom deployment in your private Amazon account, also out of the box. It's completely automated. And we also support different on-prem environments as well as part of our enterprise setup. I think someone had a question. Actually, I don't mind if we do questions in real time. No? Okay, then I will continue. So basically, the platform that we built allows to start really quickly, to try different things really quickly, and then deploy in very different heterogeneous setups, and also then scale up, because for us, we build a platform in a way that it doesn't matter you deploy 1 node or 50 nodes. It's exactly the same process. Everything is completely automated. So you don't really, we don't really care like how many nodes we need to run, because everything is being auto-scaled. Everything is being operated not by humans. So in this case, it's really easy to scale up, add new members to your network, and to operate in production as well. So having said that, this is only the infrastructure layer that I briefly described, which is not the only thing that we provide. So we also allow more or less full stack whenever you want to build an enterprise blockchain solution with regards to the distributed ledger technology, right? So we currently don't provide like off-chain storage ourselves, or we don't provide like something that is not directly related to the actual DLT. For this, we have partners and tools and services in the marketplace, which is on the application tier that you see on the top. There we also provide different services on top of the ledger itself. For instance, for Corda, let's say we support a complete suite of Corda app management, which is not available out of the box with the Corda as a protocol itself. So we allow you to deploy applications from the console using our UI. You can do the same thing using the API. So some of our most advanced customers build like CI/CD pipelines with like spinning up the new network and then deploying the application on top of this network, and then shutting down this network, and so on and so forth. So quite sophisticated pipelines you can build on top of our APIs. And what's also important is the mid tier, which we call governance tier, where we basically allow you to manage your members in the consortium really effectively by just like inviting them via email, and also managing the identities for all participants in the network, because we have a separate component called Vault, where each member can manage their own identities for a given network, and do it in a secure fashion. So the infrastructure tier, which I briefly touched the advantages of, you can basically choose how to operate, right? So the easiest way that I will also demo today is to do everything in the cloud. Everything is fully managed by Chainstack. You don't need to run anything on your servers, anything on your laptop. You can just basically run the entire blockchain network in the cloud. And also you can use the control panel that we provide, which is also managed and operated by us. Everything is absolutely automated, including maintenance, installation of the tools on it, and you just pay for what you use. So basically, you can use a network for a week, and you pay for a week. You can use a network for a day, and you can pay for a day. So the granularity of our billing is per hour, which is very useful for those who want to try out different things. They want to move fast, and they don't want to overpay. They don't want to overcommit to a certain usage for months or years. So we want to be really friendly to the developers. So we don't want to have this burden of like agreeing on a contract, etc. So you can start building, like, again, as I mentioned, you can deploy a network in 10 minutes right away. So then we have more sophisticated options for the deployment of nodes and networks, and the control panel itself that we provide with API and the UI. Let's say the hybrid option, which has been pretty popular among small, medium-sized consortiums. So basically, you choose what to operate yourself. For instance, you want to run the nodes in your own cloud, to have complete ownership of data, of the ledger itself, of the keys, etc. So you can basically choose to run the nodes of your organization in your own cloud. Let's say you want to do it in your own Amazon account. It's easy to do. Again, Amazon is completely integrated. For instance, we also can do custom integrations with Azure, GCP, or any like bare metal Kubernetes. So as far as the Kubernetes is supported, we can do hybrid deployment, which means that the console we operate so that you don't need to care about it, and you operate. You basically operate just your core infrastructure, which is basically compute and storage, and we deploy everything on top of it in an automated fashion. For large and sophisticated and customers who need to conform with certain strict regulation, we also offer a self-hosted option, whereas you host the entire platform, including the orchestration components, including the nodes, as well as the control panel itself. So it's basically a self-hosted solution that we provide for those who want 100% of control and 100% of ownership of everything that is related to the DLT layer of their solutions. So these are a couple of examples of the real deployments that we have. So this is hybrid deployment. Basically, you have the resource management, the control panel, which is hosted by Chainstack. You have different cloud providers that are integrated into Chainstack out of the box, which you can use for node deployment, and you also can connect your own cluster and deploy nodes there, which is pretty cool. On the demo, I will show you how I just spin up a network in basically like 5 minutes of Hyperledger Fabric in 3 different clouds in 3 different regions, and it works like out of the box, like magic. This is an example of self-hosted deployment, whereas you have the control panel hosted by the bank, and the bank also has 2 clusters for node deployment, one in Singapore, one in UK, and they are both plugged into the control panel so that these two clusters can be used as a target for node deployment. So a little bit about the governance tier. Basically, the idea is that you can invite as many participants in the network as you want. As I said, it's basically a piece of cake, just sending an invitation to an organization administrator via email. And then these members of the project, so you can basically have multiple projects on the platform as well as part of your organization, and you can invite as many members in each project as you want, which allows you to build pretty interesting solutions on top of basically one platform. You can run different proof of concepts with different organizations within the same account, and only those who need access, they will have access to your project. One project can be on supply chain, and you have a project for that. One project can be for tokenization on different protocol. Third project can be the document exchange on Hyperledger Fabric, and it can be like a private project of one of your departments, let's say of a bank, right? You can also have multiple networks in the same project, one for production, one for staging. So managing of like entities within the network, like all the users, all the members, it's very easy and streamlined on the platform. So last but not least, the application tier, you can use multiple partner solutions that we have. So we have partners like Digital Asset that provides standardized DAML language on top of multiple blockchains, including Hyperledger Fabric and Quora. We have like monitoring solutions, explorers. For instance, we have Web3 Labs as our partner who provide pretty sophisticated explorer solutions for different blockchain networks. And we also provide our own solutions in the marketplace, like load balancing solution that we offer for public blockchains, which is very popular for those who are building like high scale applications on top of public blockchains, for instance. So a couple of words about Hyperledger Fabric support on Chainstack. Currently, we're on version 2.2. As I mentioned, everything that we do is based on Kubernetes. So all the workloads are containerized. They're segregated from each other, so they don't have any access to each other's ledgers, to each other's like chain codes, etc. To simplify the kickstart on the platform, we have one initial channel. Whenever you create a network that all the member organizations can join and will join by default. We have one raft order included per network by default, which is also free of charge, which is also pretty cool because we know that some other managed blockchain service providers, they charge separately for each component, they charge separately for Kubernetes as hosting. So we charge basically only for peer usage and nothing else. So you basically just pay for peer node compute and storage, and that's all. Of course, in more sophisticated setups, when people want, let's say, multiple orders or multiple components that are not provided out of the box, it's more like on-demand setup, and the pricing is discussed separate. But out of the box, we just charge for peer compute and order, and also Hyperledger Explorer that we deploy per each member organization in the network. We provide free of charge, and you can use it as much as you want. So now let's show a little demo of a platform that we've been building. Let me open the right browser tab for this. So here is how Chainstack looks like. I'm in my dashboard. I see all my projects here. As I see multiple tabs here, I can create a new project. I can like choose the type of the project. As I mentioned, we support public blockchain as well as consortium blockchains. So here for Hyperledger Fabric, you need to choose consortium and just spin up a project. It will be created in a second, and you can use it to host your own network. So I pre-created a project in advance. It's called Next Generation Credentials platform, where government agencies and organizations can collaborate on education and training data, right? Here, as I mentioned, you can have members in your project. So currently I have a couple. I invited MIT using my personal email, and I have Chainstack as my primary organization. Currently I have a small consortium of 2 members basically that can collaborate and then create nodes and then transact on this network. Creating a network, as I mentioned, is a piece of cake. So let's say we want to create a development network. We basically just select the protocol. So we support Hyperledger Fabric, Raft. We have useful helpers everywhere to explain things that are going on in the platform. For instance, here you can read more about Raft if this word is not familiar to you, like what's Raft. We support different identity issuers. On this plan, I have CryptoGen as a basic one. We'll support Fabric CA as well. Hosting, as I mentioned, you can use the Chainstack hosted nodes, or you can also use your own cloud. For this, you need to add the integration with your Kubernetes cluster in the integration section. So here you can choose between different clouds, whether it's, again, Amazon, Azure, or Google Cloud. We support different regions. And then basically click next, and the network will be deployed with 1 peer node, 2 service nodes, which is basically Raft, Order, and Explore, right? So that's exactly what I've done before, just half an hour before the event. I have a production network running here. I have 3 nodes. 2 are operated by my organization, which is called Chainstack, and the 3rd one is operated by my collaborator, which I name MIT in this case. And as you see, there are 3 peer nodes that are hosted in 3 different clouds and 3 different regions, which is pretty cool, and they can transact with each other like that. We also have service nodes here. We can see Explore, Order. We can see the details, how to connect to the order. We can export all the necessary credentials to connect to the order, like TLS certificates and so on. We can also open up the Explorer, which again, as I mentioned, we deploy per each member organization to maintain privacy of the Hyperledger Explorer database. Well, it's pretty much vanilla Hyperledger Explorer that if you're familiar with. There's nothing new here. It's just configured automatically. All the members are added in the network automatically, so you will see them immediately. You will see all the chain codes deployed and so on and so forth. So since this is a pretty new network, you see just a few blocks and transactions, which are more or less about adding new organization into the network, right? So what you can do with this node, for instance, I will go to one of my nodes and I can see basically the RPC endpoint. I can export again all the credentials. I can quickly read up the docs, like what do I do with this node, how to connect. And we have pretty sophisticated documentation on the interaction tools with each of the nodes, like, okay, how to connect to your peer. We explain everything, all the steps, like one by one. You can just go through it like a tutorial, or rather, you can just go to a tutorial section and like choose Hyperledger Fabric and basically go through our pretty popular Universal Basic Income tutorial, which we wrote a blog on top of with the web app included, and we used it in multiple bootcamps. So it's quite, and also I know that Digital Asset, they basically rebuild this chain code and build it on top of DAML, which is also pretty cool. So you can also use the tutorial section to learn more about how to build on each of the protocols that we support. You can also see node logs, of course, to understand what's going on with your peer node. You can also see the chain code server logs to understand what's going on with your chain code once you install it. So it's quite complete in the sense that you can observe all the things going on your network from the perspective of your organization, which is important because, let's say, here's my collaborator called MIT, and whenever I go to the peer, I obviously cannot see the RPC endpoint for this peer because I'm not from this organization. So what I can see is just peer name, so that I can collaborate and I can transact with this particular peer, right? We can also see the network details, which contains necessary information like, okay, what's my channel ID, what's my membership details on this network, like organization name, MSP ID, and so on. I can also drill down into admin identity, which is in the vault section, and I can see the details of my identity here, like what's the X500 name of this identity. I can see the issuers. So this is what you can do here as well. What is also very convenient, you can export connection profile that you can later use in many SDKs that are built for Hyperledger Fabric, like Node.js SDK, or you can use it as part of amazing IBM blockchain VS Code extension that we use a lot in all of our projects, and it's very convenient to kickstart your development on top of Hyperledger Fabric. I think it's a great tool, and we have complete integration with it. So in our documentation, you can read up how to plug in Chainstack network into the VS Code extension. So I think that's pretty much it for the demo. Let me get back to slides and continue from there. Yeah, I want to spend maybe like 5 minutes about Chainstack enterprise offerings, because I'm sure many of you are interested in, okay, so you have this simple platform. What about security? What about privacy? What about identity management, and how you operate things? Like how we know that the platform is robust, how we know that it's secure. So I'd like to cover a little on that and explain our best practices and how we maintain everything that we do. So we have audit trails enabled on all our systems. We do regular backups and disaster recovery tests for the critical parts of the network. So for instance, we do backups of the ledger itself, of the database, like order database as well, and so on and so forth. So we basically back up and do disaster recovery trials for all the critical components of the network on Chainstack Enterprise plan. So we also enable role-based access control for all our employees, of course, and we do storage encryption by default, which is conveniently available in all the cloud providers out of the box, and we also do it on premise for larger customers. We do all security best practices like vulnerability assessment, patch management for the entire code base, for our Docker containers, and so on and so forth. We use TLS everywhere, so you cannot connect to our peer without providing TLS certificate, because the security and encryption in transfer is also extremely important, especially when you do a distributed ledger technology solution. We also have two-factor authentication, of course, for all our internal systems, as well as for Chainstack console as well. So you can enable it in settings. Identity management, we have a very careful approach for, because in any decentralized solution that requires to use identity, it's the key, right? So if you lose your identity, if it's compromised, then there is a problem all the time. So we want to make sure it's stored in the most secure fashion possible. So our Chainstack Vault is basically this solution, which is built on top of HashiCorp Vault, and also storage solutions with encryption that are available in the public cloud providers, which are pretty sophisticated. We also allow you to use external KMS or even HSM for key storage on the enterprise plan, as well as an additional option. We have 0 data touchpoints for on-premise deployments. So we basically don't know what's going on there, because we just provided the software. For hybrid deployment, it's also available basically as soon as the data is in your own cloud, like the ledger database, all the compute that is happening on top of the nodes are basically hosted in your own environment, and we have no access there, which can be leveraged. So we just use it for orchestration. We use least privilege best practice everywhere for all the deployments. So we, for instance, if you integrate with your own Amazon EKS cluster, you will see that the roles we require for the private hosting deployment is minimal and only necessary. So for instance, we will obviously not ask you for like admin access into your AWS account, which will be ridiculous, right? So as soon as we're using Kubernetes and Docker everywhere, each application process is isolated, and the data is also isolated. So there's no way that applications can get access to each other, and different nodes can get access to each other. For operations, we have pretty sophisticated dashboards built internally for monitoring and for alerting as well. As a user, again, out of the box in the platform, you can use the activity log feature that allows you to read all the events that happened on your projects, on your networks, on your nodes, and see the complete audit log. You can also see logs of the node that I just demoed before. And for sophisticated and advanced customers, we also provide solutions for on-premise operations with monitoring and alerting to enable the top grade reliability that we provide for our hosted solutions as well. Last but not least, we also provide professional services on top of the platform, which are again pretty popular among advanced customers in banking sector and those who are building large-scale consortiums. Whenever the customization is required, our professional services team is ready to help, which includes basically just recommending where to start, like how to build on top of the protocols that we support, how to choose the right protocol, how to compare, like, let's say, the performance of each protocol, and so on and so forth, like how to onboard partners in an efficient fashion, and also and other services related to orchestration of your network, whether it's organizational orchestration or technological orchestration. So that's all about our next generation managed blockchain services that we've built. As I mentioned, we have pretty sophisticated documentation for all the protocols, including Hyperledger Fabric, of course. We have a lot of articles on our KB. So if you go to support.chainstack.com, you will see a lot of questions that you might have, and you will get answers there. You can start for free on Chainstack, which is also pretty cool. So currently we have 14 days free trial for the platform. And as part of this event, we also provide an offer for a growth plan for 1 month, completely for free. Growth plan allows you to deploy up to 3 peer nodes in your account and create as many projects as you want. And you can also create like up to 3 networks. So it's a good plan to start exploring more in details what the services are available, because developer plan allows you basically just to deploy 1 network with 1 node, which is not that cool to see how nodes talk to each other and to build like a viable network, right? So for these purposes, we offer the growth plan for all participants of this event here. I think we're right in time, so we have plenty of time for questions. I see there are some in the chat, so I think we can go and look at the questions, right? Okay, I see some questions. Let me take from the beginning. Does Fabric support Risk V platform? Actually, we're trying to run a Risk V based board, but unable to do so. I assume it's a question more to Hyperledger than to Chainstack. Chainstack is built on top of traditional architectures. So nothing custom here that we provide at the moment. Does Chainstack provide a test net? As I mentioned, you can register for free on console.chainstack.com and use the platform for free. So usage also is provided for free, so you can run a node for basically 14 days and play with it and go through all our tutorials and so on. How many APIs are available, and most importantly, for what type of business cases? Could you show an example for supply chain finance? Great question. So Chainstack is an infrastructure provider, right? So we don't provide at the moment any industry vertical APIs or use cases out of the box. These are usually built by our platform partners. So you can think about Chainstack as AWS of blockchains. So on AWS, anybody can build any solution on top, whether it's supply chain finance or a new, let's say, neo-banking startup or whatever, right? So you can build any type of solution on top of the infrastructure platform like AWS. Same applies to Chainstack. You can build anything on top of Chainstack. Only imagination is the limit. But at the moment, we don't provide any business case specific APIs or functionality. This is done by our partners that are building this on top of the platform. What version of Hyperledger Fabric is this running? I think I covered this already. It's 2.2, and we tend to upgrade to the latest versions. We obviously do a lot of testing before we move the latest version to the production, but we try to be on the latest versions as much as possible. Does Chainstack plan to host framework-specific webinars to cover starter projects for some use cases? We've run a couple of very large bootcamps before on Hyperledger Fabric, and we used some projects like, as I mentioned, like Universal Basic Income, which is not really like very industry specific. So it's more like a tutorial kind of project, but it's very real because on the largest bootcamp that we ran, like a half a year ago, we had like a network of 40 nodes running within 2 hours. It was very massive. I think it was the biggest Hyperledger Fabric network built within 2 hours for sure, but within such a short time frame for sure as well. So we don't really have industry specific like webinars or events at the moment. We do run those with our partners. So if you have any ideas or if you have any suggestions, or maybe you even want to run a webinar with us and build on top of and have a showcase solution built on top of Chainstack, we'll be very happy to hear from you. Please reach out to me or Alex, who is also on this call, and we'll get it sorted. How do you differentiate your solution from other managed blockchain services, like from the IBM blockchain service or from Azure blockchain as a service? Azure blockchain as a service is discontinued starting from September, so we don't have to differentiate ourselves anymore from Azure. Also, Azure never supported Hyperledger Fabric and Corda, which are, in our opinion, top 2 blockchain protocols for enterprises. So there's not much to differentiate there. On the protocol analytics, we also have annual report, which is called Enterprise Blockchain Index, which is also pretty popular in the ecosystem. We have fresh version this year that shows the growth of Hyperledger Fabric and Hyperledger as a community in particular. So feel free to go to chainstack.com and find a copy of the report there. From IBM blockchain platform, I briefly touched this. We don't require any commitment. We provide free tier. We provide very affordable pricing for all our services. We don't have any hidden costs. Everything that you see on chainstack.com/pricing is what you get. So basically, you just pay for the plan, which is basically a membership cost every month, and then you pay for peer node usage. That's all. No other costs, no charges for Kubernetes, no charges for traffic, nothing. And it's also very easy to use. So you can kickstart right away. You don't need to read a lot about blockchain, about Hyperledger Fabric. Of course, you need to be aware of distributed solutions, but you can, generally speaking, any developer who builds who is familiar with the Linux console a little bit and who used like Node.js, you can start building on Hyperledger Fabric right away with Chainstack. So very low barrier to entry versus any other players as well. Can we build and deploy solutions or marketplace for consumption by others? Awesome question. You can and you need to do this. The marketplace is currently more or less like a boutique marketplace, so it doesn't allow like anybody to bring in their solutions at scale, but obviously we are happy to onboard partners who have interesting and value-added solutions on top of the platform, and we will be happy to integrate with them. So yeah, clearly the answer is yes. It's not a mass market kind of marketplace when everybody can just go and publish their own solutions. So you need to get in touch with us, and we will evaluate your solution, but we will be happy to hear from you guys. By when would you move to Hyperledger Fabric 2.3? Is there any roadmap? Great question. As I mentioned, we try to maintain the latest version all the time. We have this in the backlog for our engineering team. I think it will be completed around Q3 this year. Questions from YouTube. Are all organizations required to host on with Chainstack in order to join a channel? Today, if you want to use the platform as is, you would need to have an account on Chainstack, and then you don't have to host all nodes on Chainstack because you can host your nodes in private hosting that we have integration with, right? On enterprise plan, frankly speaking, any configuration is available. As I showed, you can start from fully managed, fully hosted solution and go to a completely on-premise deployment. We can also add or build a way to add members not from Chainstack on top of like the network that is built there originally. But again, this is currently available only for enterprise subscribers. So for instance, I think the question is rather, if I have a network running on Chainstack and then I want to host my peer on my own laptop, can I connect my peer to this network running on Chainstack? Currently, there is no direct way to do this on the platform. However, again, we do this for enterprise subscribers at scale for different setups. What's the process to add new blockchains not supported yet? Awesome question. Basically, we evaluate all the blockchains all the time to some extent. So we analyze the ecosystems of enterprise blockchains, of public blockchains, and we try to basically support a protocol before it's getting too popular. So because when it's already too popular, it means that there are already people building, there are already tools, and we want to be one of the first platforms on all the emerging protocols to support the growing developer communities there. So there's no like strict process to add new protocol. At the moment, it's currently being decided obviously by the team. Since we're a private organization, we have some crazy ideas to move to a DAO at some point so that our community will decide which protocols Chainstack should support and so on and so forth. But this is a little bit far-fetched from now, I think. But we have some serious thoughts about this because we think that the DAO model is very interesting, and decentralized decision-making is a great idea in general. I think that's all the questions. I think we still have some time, so we'll be happy to get more.
Hey, Eugene, thank you so much. So I have one question here. Can you hear me?
Sure. Yeah, Pawan, go ahead.
Yeah. So can we host our own orderer for each organization in new platform right now?
Yes, it's available only on enterprise, so you cannot do it out of the box, like from the UI once you register, like on the growth plan. But we support multiple orders. That's basically because we have the cluster raft deployed by default. So adding new order is not very complicated. For instance, we don't like use solo or ordering service, of course, or we don't use single raft cluster. We have a clustered mode for orders, so it's not complicated to add a new order, but it's not a function of a platform that is available to everyone at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Alex, there's a question for you. Do we expect to get some follow-up communication on the growth tier plans?
Yes, we do. I will be emailing you guys with more information. If you would like also to email me directly, I've posted my email address on the chat, and it's just like a straight line to me, and we can activate it right away. So it's alex.albano@chainstack.com, and I will be posting it again so that everyone has access to it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Eugene. It was a great presentation. Thank you so much. Please reach out to Alex to use Chainstack for free. And if you want to learn more about the Hyperledger and Hyperledger Fabric, please sign up to our newsletter. I also post a link in the chat. So I checked also YouTube if we don't have any other question. No, this presentation also will be, this recording will be available on YouTube. So please also check our YouTube channel. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you for all participating.
Fantastic questions. Thanks all, and see you in Chainstack.
Thanks, everyone.